It looks like the video of a culprit being arrested by some kind of investigator who's not in a plain cop clothes. That person must have really done something wrong. Actually, that guy in the red, of course, is an investigator with the Rochester Police Department. And that woman that he snatched around, slammed into a wall and walked out of there is an EMT working over this person that's on a stretcher, probably in need of her assistance. Before we go into the reasons why he did this, which is horrific, watch a little closer in case you missed what happened. Watch this again. Slammed into a wall, pulled around, yanked around like a criminal. What happened here? Because a Rochester police officer, that guy, is on desk duty now. And that's after he was caught on camera forcibly handcuffing an emergency medical technician who'd reportedly, listen to this, bumped his squad car with her ambulance door just outside of the hospital. And according to News 10 Rochester, the Monroe Ambulance EMT was attempting to unload a patient in the ambulance bay area at Strong Memorial Hospital when she hit the cop's car. The officer then demanded that she give him her identification, but the healthcare worker was more concerned about getting the patient inside the hospital for treatment because she was doing her damn job. So again, this medical worker, this EMT, was ultimately released from custody and not charged with anything because she didn't do anything but bump a squad car, by the way. And she's been, since has been released, and he's been assigned to those administrative duties as they go into all of the things that they're gonna think about trying to cover up here. So here's part of the statement from Rochester Police after this happened. They said the Rochester Police Department tweeted this statement on Friday, and they're saying it has opened an internal investigation into the arrest, and it, quote, prides itself on providing professional and courteous services to the community. This is what they also said. The police chief said, I demand that the members of the Rochester Police Department perform their duties in a professional manner. And as such, we must hold ourselves to a high standard of accountability. Crazy. Here's an image of that tweet they put out of their entire statement. So there was more to it, but it was a lot of normal. We're gonna take care of this internal investigation, look into it, professionalism. We don't do this. This is not the way we're trained. All that usual stuff like that. First, let's get to this before I just tell you guys how this doesn't mean much. But David, what are your thoughts on what they've already done?
Well, I mean, look, we all know that there are a lot of police officers who are easily triggered, who have fragile egos, who are into this because they want a badge and a gun and the power. That was clearly the case here, because not only apparently, from what I understand, Jayar, it wasn't just that there was the bump, but the police car apparently was parked where the ambulances are supposed to be parked at this hospital. The police was there for some sort of investigation. The ambulance has to sort of pull in and maneuver in a way that is not normally done. And yes, in the way of getting the patient out, sure, okay, the police car somehow gets bumped. Most cops would say, hey, you damaged my car, we need to work this out, but go ahead and take care of the patient first, and then we'll figure out which agency is gonna be responsible for paying for the repairs. But for a cop to get so triggered and just fly off the handle and literally manhandle somebody in the ER while she's trying to take care of somebody, it's crazy.
Like, he's number one. First of all, not his car. It's not like that's his Toyota out front. That's a squad car. Is there some kind of level of pride with police officers? I don't know, maybe you get in trouble if there's a ding in your car, This wasn't the ambulance running into the cop car driving in. The door of the ambulance bumped his car like what happens in any major city in the entire world. Let's keep it real. But by the way, so I point out that they said everything's been up and up. We're gonna investigate. This is the Rochester Police Department. I was like, I remember the Rochester Police Department. Something bad happened a couple of years ago with them. This is a graphic video, you guys, but maybe you remember this.
The video starts with police arriving on the scene after Prude's brother called them, saying Prude was experiencing a mental health episode. The footage shows an officer approach Prude, who was on the street naked.
Get on the ground. Put your hands behind your back. Behind your back. Yes, don't move. Yes. Don't move. Yes, chill out, man. Don't move, all right, man? Yes, just don't move.
Yes, sir. Prude complies with the officer's request and is then handcuffed.
Jesus Christ, I pray, man. Let me go back. Give me them handcuffs, bro.
Then 3 minutes after the initial encounter, officers place a spit sock over Prude's head to minimize exposure after they say he was spitting. It distresses Prude further.
Yo, get the
And when he does not comply and appears to try to stand, 3 officers get on the ground to physically restrain him and hold him to the ground.
I'm already in it.
One officer has his knee on Prude's back and the other is holding his head to the pavement while the spit sock remains on his head.
Another officer can be seen putting his weight on Prude's head, who appears to be struggling to breathe.
Daniel Prude was, as they loaded him into and got him to the hospital, he was pronounced brain dead, and a week later they took him off life support and he died. That's what happened with Rochester Police Department. And by the way, that police chief was later fired over that whole thing, I believe. And there was supposed to be this change of culture. Has it changed yet, or is there cops still running up on people, slamming them into walls over a ding in their police car? By the way, I want to read a couple things from that case, David, really fast, because let's go to graphic 7, you guys. That fallout from the Daniel Prude thing. A grand jury declined to press criminal charges against any of the officers involved in February, to the chagrin of Attorney General Letitia James. City lawyers have defended Vaughn's restraint technique, that's the officer, in a lawsuit filed by Prude's family, saying cops were trained to, quote, to hold Mr. Prude's head to the ground in order to stop Mr. Prude's attempts to stand up. In other words, kill him? Is that the training? Because again, back to the whole thing what happened with this EMT worker. Is it a point now where you say, I work for the Rochester Police Department. We've got a horrible track record right now. It's been widely talked about. Maybe we should calm the F down. It's weird.
Well, look, I mean, I'm one of these, JR, I believe, like, I don't think most cops are tyrants. I don't hate the police, but I think there's a significant number of them that are in police work for the wrong reason. And that's why I have this saying, sort of back the blue until it happens to you, right? I mean, if you think that there is just an isolated case of just this one police officer who had his car dinged, why did it take the surveillance camera being released in order for there to be an investigation? Why wasn't there somebody else on the police department who said, yeah, this officer's a loose cannon. This guy should not be on the force. Him flying off a handle over a ding in his police car is enough. I mean, there needs to be an institutional response. It can't always be just the investigators, the internal affairs that finds these rotten cops.
And then we don't know what happens later. We just don't hear about it. We're like, oh, maybe something will happen. Someone gets fired, someone gets disciplined, someone's on desk duty for a couple weeks, and they move on because we've moved on to the next one. And we know there'll be a next one, and the next one, and the next one, or a shooting, or this, or that. It's just how these things work, and then so people can move on and forget until the next time it happens. We go, oh my God, that's right, Rochester. Maybe fix it. Maybe change the way you go about things. Maybe you don't get angry at a ding on your police car.